I blew out the candle on our 10th anniversary alone. Frosting still on my fingers, while my husband texted that he had a business dinner. Then an unknown number asked one question. "Are you coming home this year?" I opened the safe he never knew existed. Slipped on the emerald ring my family had guarded for generations, and drove to the gala, he said, was too important for a wife like me. He thought he was about to throw me out. By midnight, he would learn who had built his company, who had protected his name, and why I had finally come to take everything back. "Who let you in?" Grant Mercer's fingers locked around my wrist before I had taken 5 steps into the ballroom. His smile stayed polished for the people watching us. His voice did not, "This is not a charity dinner. Evain. These people run banks, funds, and public companies. You cannot show up dressed like this and pretend you belong here." I looked at his hand on me, then at his face. "You should let go before someone important sees you." His grip loosened. "My name is Evelyn Hartwell Mercer. I was 34 that winter. Though almost no one in Grant's world knew more than my first name, to his employees, I was a quiet wife who stayed home. To his mother, I was free labor. To Grant, I had become furniture. He expected to find exactly where he left it. He stared at my charcoal gown, the emerald earrings, and the signet ring on my right hand. "Where did you get those?" he whispered. "Did you rent them?" I laughed once. That made him angrier. "Go home through the service exit," he said. "Do not embarrass me tonight." "Grant," the man behind him spoke calmly. But Grant went still. Nolan Reed, founder of Reed Capital, approached with a glass of red wine in his hand. Grant had spent months trying to win his attention. Nolan was famous for letting chief executives wait outside his office while he finished lunch. Now he stopped in front of me and lowered his head. "Miss Hartwell," he said, "you should have told me you were coming. I would have met you downstairs." Grant's eyes moved from Nolan to me. "You know my wife?" Nolan's expression tightened. "Your wife?" The silence around us sharpened. I eased my wrist free. "Nolan, the room looks beautiful." I said, "Thank you. Your father is in the private lounge." Grant turned so quickly that his champagne spilled over his cuff. "My father-in-law? I met his starry." "You have never met my father." Then I walked away. Behind me, Grant hissed, "Nolan." "Who is she?" Nolan answered quietly. But the room had gone still enough for me to hear him. "You really do not know?" The guards outside the private lounge saw my ring and stepped aside. Inside, Charles Hartwell sat on a leather sofa with 2 advisors beside him. His hair had gone white. His shoulders were still broad, but age had drawn deeper lines around his eyes. He looked up. The wooden beads in his hand dropped onto the table. "Evie?" His voice broke on the name. I crossed the room, picked up the beads, and placed them in his palm. "Hi, Dad." He stood slowly, staring as though I might disappear. "What are you doing here?" "I came home." His face collapsed. He pulled me into his arms, and for a moment, the ballroom, the cameras, and Grant vanished. My father smelled like cedar, black coffee, and the office where I had spent most of my 20s. When he let me go, his hands stayed on my shoulders. "You are too thin." "I am fine." "No." His eyes moved to the red marks on my wrist. "You are not." He looked past me. Grant stood at the entrance to the lounge, pale and motionless. Nolan was beside him. Several executives had gathered behind them, pretending not to stare. My father's voice changed. "Come here." Grant took 1 step. A guard blocked him. My father raised 2 fingers. The guard moved aside. Grant entered like a man walking into court before sentencing. "Mr. Hartwell," he said. My father's stare hardened. "You married my daughter?" "Do not call me Mr." Grant swallowed. "Sit." "I did not know." "That is already obvious." "Dad," I said. He looked at me, and the fury in his face softened for a second. "Tell me what happened." "I will." "No." "Tell me what kind of life you have been living." Grant turned toward me. Evain, do not do this here. I looked at him. You brought me here the moment you told me to use the service exit. His jaw tightened. You are angry. I understand that, but there are investors in this room. We can discuss our private problems at home. Our private problems built your public success? That stopped him. My father signaled to one of his advisors. A folder landed on the table. He opened it. Mercer Digital nearly collapsed after its product launch failed. He said, Reed Capital was preparing a hostile buyout. The deal disappeared overnight. You received bridge financing instead. Grant glanced at Nolan. Nolan looked away. My father continued, You later won a national hospital network contract even though your competitor's bid was stronger. You survived a patent suit that should have buried you. 3 major retailers signed with you in the same quarter. Did you believe all of that happened because you give good presentations? Grant's lips parted. I earned those contracts. No. I said, You presented them. I earned them. His head turned toward me. I could see the moment his mind rejected the answer. Then I watched fear replace disbelief. You? I rewrote the risk model your board was too proud to question. I called Nolan when his partners were ready to take your company apart. I used Hartwell relationships to put your proposal in front of people who would not have opened your email. Why? Because I was your wife? His face twisted. You lied to me. The nerve of it almost made me smile. I hid my last name. You hid your character. That is not fair. Fair? You let me believe you came from a small family in Iowa. I told you my parents owned businesses and land in Iowa. Every word was true. You knew what I thought. Yes. Then you manipulated me? I stepped closer. I spent years protecting your pride. Do not rename that manipulation, because the truth makes you small. The people outside the lounge had stopped pretending. Phones were out now. A few guests whispered into them. Grant saw it and lowered his voice. Please. Not here. My father shut the folder. Why did she have to hide? Grant said nothing. I answered for him. Because he said powerful women made men look weak. His eyes flashed. That was years ago. You repeated it every time a woman challenged you in a meeting. I did not mean you. You never knew me well enough to mean me. My father leaned back. But the calm in his posture was more dangerous than shouting, What does my daughter wear at home? Grant frowned. What? You heard me. I do not know. Clothes. Her house shoes were worn through. My father said. Her hands were cracked from washing dishes. Her apron was stained because your mother expected her to cook for the entire family. Did you notice any of that? Grant looked at me as though seeing my hands for the first time. We have staff. Your mother sent them home before family holidays. She said outsiders should not hear family conversations. Then she put me in the kitchen. That is not what happened. It happened every Christmas. No. You liked cooking. I liked being useful. You taught everyone that usefulness was all I had. A woman near the lounge gasped softly. I turned and saw Grant's mother, Diane, standing beside his sister, Lindsay. Diane wore a burgundy evening dress and an expression of offended innocence. Lindsay clutched a jeweled purse against her chest. Diane pushed through the crowd. This has gone far enough, she said. Evelyn was never mistreated. She volunteered for everything. She wanted to be needed. My father stood. Diane stopped. He did not raise his voice. Did you ever ask her to sit down before the food was gone? Diane blinked. She is being dramatic. Answer him. I said. Her mouth tightened. You never complained? I should not have needed to submit a complaint to be treated like a person. We thought you were ordinary. My father's face turned cold. There it is. Diane realized what she had said. That is not what I meant. It is exactly what you meant. I replied, You would have respected me if you knew my bank account. You did not respect me when you thought I had nothing. Lindsay stepped forward. You are making us sound like monsters. You left your son with me whenever you wanted to shop. You said you did not mind. I said he was safe with me. I did not say I was your unpaid nanny. Her cheeks flushed. You were home all day. And you spent money your brother did not earn. Her hand moved over the diamond bracelet on her wrist. I glanced at it. That bracelet came from a bonus. Grant paid himself after Hartwell quietly rescued his credit line. Lindsay covered it with her other hand. That was a gift? It was purchased with borrowed survival? Grant looked sick. Stop attacking my family. I faced him. You watched them attack me for years. I never saw that. You never looked. His voice rose. I was working. So was I? You stayed home. I kept your company alive from my study while you slept. You are twisting everything. No. I am finally naming it. He took a breath and tried a softer tone. All right. I failed you. I should have paid more attention. But you chose this life too. Evain, you wanted privacy. You said you were happy. I said I was fine. That is the same thing. No. It is what people say when they have learned that honesty changes nothing. My father's hand closed around the back of a chair. Grant saw it and shifted tactics. Mr. Hartwell, I love your daughter. My father's eyes narrowed. Then why did my daughter eat cold leftovers after serving your family? Grant's face went blank. Diane answered for him. That happened once. Every holiday. I said, it was not intentional. Neither is mold. You still throw out the food. A few people in the crowd lowered their eyes. Grant stepped toward me. I am sorry. I held up one hand. No. You are scared. That is not true. You were not sorry when you thought I was powerless. His voice cracked. I did not think you were powerless. You told me to leave through the service entrance less than an hour ago. I was shocked. You were ashamed? I was trying to protect you. From whom? He hesitated. From people who would judge you. They were judging you? His face reddened. I could feel the room turning. Not because everyone suddenly cared about me, but because they understood power. A quiet wife had become a controlling shareholder. A daughter of Charles Hartwell, and the person behind Grant's most celebrated victories. Their sympathy followed the direction of influence. I did not mistake it for kindness. Grant ran a hand over his mouth. Why tonight? Because you forgot our anniversary again. His eyes flickered. I had a business dinner. You had this gala? It is business. You texted me like I was a housekeeper waiting for your schedule. I plan to make it up to you. When? He did not answer. Next week, I asked. Next month? After the next round of funding? After the next award? I said I am sorry. And I heard you? Hope touched his face. I do not accept it. The hope vanished. My father looked at me. But he did not interfere. Grant's shoulders dropped. 10 years. Evain. Yes. You cannot erase 10 years because I missed an anniversary. I am not leaving because you missed a date. Then what do you want from me? The truth. I am telling you the truth. No. You are negotiating. He stared. I reached for the brown envelope my father's advisor held. Grant saw it and went still. I slid out a hotel receipt, a key card log, and printed messages. Last March. You told me you were flying to Dallas. He did not move. You checked into a suite downtown with Vanessa Cole. Diane whispered. Grant? His face drained. That is not what it looks like. Good? Explain it. She brought documents. To a suite after midnight? We had been drinking with clients. There were no clients registered on that floor. She was helping me prepare for a meeting. Then why did you delete her messages? His mouth opened. Nothing came out. I handed him the printouts. He looked at the first page and nearly dropped it. Vanessa's messages were not explicit. They were worse in a quieter way. She told him he deserved a woman who understood ambition. He told her she made him feel admired. She called him brilliant. He told her, home felt heavy. Grant's eyes filled. We never slept together. I studied him. That is your defense? It matters. It mattered to you. You wanted the comfort of betrayal without the name. She listened to me. So did I. Until you stopped speaking to me. You did not understand the pressure. I understood it well enough to solve the problems you could not. His voice sharpened. There. That is why I could not talk to you. The room tightened. He pointed at me with the pages trembling in his hand. You always had this look. Like you knew better. Like you could walk into my company and take over. I could. That is exactly what I mean. So you chose a woman who made you feel taller? I chose someone who did not make me feel judged. You chose someone who praised the version of you I was secretly holding together. He flinched. I lowered my voice. You did not keep me away from your events to protect me. You kept me away because you were afraid people would compare us. That is not true. You thought my silence was ignorance? It was mercy. He tore his gaze from mine and looked toward my father. Sir, I made mistakes. But I built Mercer Digital from nothing. My father nodded once. You built the shell. I placed another document on the table. I own 34% of Mercer Digital. Grant stopped breathing. Diane grabbed Lindsay's arm. You own what? The shares are held through a private trust. I said, I bought them during the restructuring. Grant shook his head. That is impossible. You signed the recapitalization agreement? You were the anonymous investor? Yes. You said you were helping me? I was. You could remove me. With support from 2 smaller shareholders. Yes. His knees seemed to weaken. You planned this? I planned for the company to survive you. Nolan spoke from behind him. She is the reason your board kept you. Grant turned. You knew? Nolan's face remained flat. I knew who backed the company. I assumed you knew who your wife was. A low murmur rolled through the crowd. Grant looked around. Suddenly aware that the men who had praised him an hour earlier were now avoiding his eyes. His mother was crying. His sister was staring at the bracelet she could no longer afford. My father stood beside me, silent and immovable. Grant looked back at me. What are you going to do? Withdraw every Hartwell guarantee. Transfer my voting rights to an independent trustee. File for divorce. Diane lunged forward. You cannot destroy his company over a marriage problem. I turned to her. I am not destroying it. I am removing what belonged to me. You vindictive little... My father took one step. Diane stopped speaking. I did not need him to defend me. Finish the sentence. I said. Her lips trembled. You trapped us. No. You became comfortable in a house built over a door you never bothered to find. Grant's expression changed again. Fear gave way to anger, because anger was easier for him. You hid your identity? You bought my stock behind my back. You investigated my employee. And now you are humiliating me in front of everyone. How am I the villain? The cruelty in his voice was familiar now. So was the performance? He spread his hands toward the crowd. I worked myself sick for us. I gave her a beautiful home. I never hit her. I never abandoned her. I never had an affair. She stayed quiet for years. Then walked into this room with her billionaire father and decided I should lose everything. Several guests shifted. He saw it and pushed harder. She wants applause because she washed dishes. Plenty of wives work at home. Plenty of husbands miss anniversaries. Does that justify ruining a company and the lives of its employees? I waited until he finished. Then I asked, Are you done? His chest rose and fell. You know I am right. No. You are loud. I looked at the guests. Mercer Digital's employees will be protected. Payroll is funded. Operations will continue. The only person whose position is under review is Grant. The room changed again. He had tried to hide behind his staff. I removed the shield. Grant's voice dropped. You planned every word? No. I prepared every fact. Tell me honestly, how many chances does a marriage deserve after respect has already died? I let the question remain in the air. Not just for the room. But for myself? Grant stared at me. Then he came closer. The guard moved, but I lifted a hand. He stopped within arm's reach. His face had lost all polish. His tie was crooked. His eyes were wet. Evie, he said. I had not heard that name from him in years. Do not. We were happy once. We were... You remember our first apartment? Yes. The kitchen was so small I had to turn sideways behind you. You kept stealing food from the pan? You hit my hand with a spoon. You deserved it. A broken laugh escaped him. For 1 second, I saw the man I had married. Young. Hungry. nervous, and in love with me before success taught him to confuse attention with worth. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an old navy scarf. My breath caught. I keep it in my desk, he said. The first anniversary gift I bought you? It cost almost nothing. I know. You wore it every day that winter. I loved it. I loved you. In the beginning? I still do. No. You love the evidence that you once did? His face folded. That is cruel. It is accurate. He took another step. I can fix this. You cannot return time. I will fire Vanessa. She is not the marriage. I will move your office into mine. I do not want your office. I will tell everyone who you are. I know who I am. I will stand up to my mother. You had years. I will go to counseling. You can go alone. His voice broke. What do you want me to say? Nothing. He looked terrified by the answer. Yell at me. No. Tell me you hate me. I do not. Then there is still something. No. Grant. Hate would require me to keep carrying you. He covered his mouth. Tears spilled over his fingers. Diane stepped forward. Suddenly soft. Evain. Marriages go through hard seasons. A wife does not leave when things get difficult. I turned toward her. A mother does not train her son to mistake service for love. Her softness disappeared. You think being rich makes you better than us? No. I thought being family would make you better to me. She had no answer. Lindsay began to cry. What happens to us? The question was so honest that it almost impressed me. You will live within your own means. My son's school, his tuition is paid through the end of the year. After that, you and his father will make a plan. You cannot punish a child. I am not. I am ending your access to me. Grant looked at my father. Please talk to her. My father's expression did not change. You had a decade to talk to her. I did not know she was suffering. You knew she was silent. She said she was fine. My father moved closer. When the woman you claim to love becomes quieter every year, a husband asks why. A user enjoys the peace. Grant lowered his head. I'm sorry. I watched him bend at the waist until he was nearly folded in half. The ballroom stayed silent. Cameras recorded every second. When he straightened, he looked at me with desperate hope. I heard your apology. I said, I still choose to leave. He flinched as though struck. Because of Vanessa? Because of me? What does that mean? It means I finally count. He shook his head. If you walk out tonight, you are throwing away everything we built. I built a company for you. You built a cage for me. That is not fair. You keep saying that whenever the truth charges interest. His face twisted. Do not make me beg. I did not ask you to, but you want this? You wanted me on my knees. No? I wanted you beside me. You arrived too late. He grabbed the back of a chair. My father offered me his hand. Ready? I looked at Grant one last time. He was no longer the confident founder at the center of the room. He was a frightened man surrounded by people who had loved his momentum. Not him. I am ready. We walked out of the lounge. The crowd opened without being asked. As I passed Nolan, he inclined his head. Your legal team can contact mine in the morning. I said, understood. Grant followed. Evain. I kept walking. Evain. Wait. His steps grew faster. At the elevator, he caught up and stood between the doors. Just answer one thing. I pressed the button. Were you ever happy with me? The elevator arrived. I looked at him. Yes. His face lifted. But those days became so rare that I started doubting they had happened. The doors began to close. He put his hand between them. Come home. I am. To our house? That house was yours? Home is where I do not have to disappear. The doors closed on his face. In the lobby, reporters had already gathered behind velvet ropes. Hotel security offered a private exit. No. I said, I will use the front door. My father looked at me. You do not owe them anything. I'm not doing it for them. The glass doors opened. Camera flashes burst across the steps. Questions flew from every direction. Miss Hartwell. Are you returning to Hartwell Group? Are you divorcing Grant Mercer? Do you control Mercer Digital? Did your husband know who you were? I did not answer. A black sedan waited at the curb. The driver opened the rear door. Grant's voice tore through the lobby. Evie. I turned. He stood behind security with his mother and sister several feet back. His face was wet. His jacket hung open. He looked less like a chief executive than a man who had run out of rooms to control. Where are you going? He shouted. My family's house? Please. We can talk there. No. I will give you the company. I already own enough of it. I will leave with nothing. That would still not give me back what you took. He pushed against the guards. I was afraid of losing you. You were afraid of losing what I did for you. That is not true. When I was only your quiet wife, you did not chase me. Now that I am Evelyn Hartwell, you cannot stop. I love you. You loved being loved by me. His face crumpled. If you leave now, do not come back. The old threat? The last tool of a man who had lost every other one. I stepped into the car. I was not planning to. The door closed. My father sat beside me. For several blocks, neither of us spoke. Chicago moved past the window in ribbons of white and red light. Then he reached for my hand. Home? He asked. I nodded. Home. The tears came quietly. I did not hide them. My father did not tell me to stop. He held my hand until the skyline fell behind us. By morning, my attorney delivered the divorce petition, the voting trust notice, and the termination of every Hartwell guarantee connected to Mercer Digital. The company did not collapse. I made sure the employees were protected and the customers were served. Grant lost the thing he valued most: control. The board placed him on leave pending an internal review. Vanessa resigned before she could be questioned about the leaked product information. Nolan converted his financing into a secured position. Several partners demanded new leadership. Diane called from different numbers until my attorney sent a formal warning. Lindsay emailed an itemized list of expenses she believed I should continue paying. I forwarded it to her without comment. Grant sent flowers to my father's house. I returned them. He sent the navy scarf. I kept it. Not because I wanted him back, because I would not let the ending poison the girl I had been when I first wore it. A month later, I returned to Hartwell Group. My office had been preserved on the executive floor. The furniture was covered. The shelves were empty, and the city spread beneath the windows. My father had never given the space away. On my first morning, the board reviewed a proposal to acquire a controlling position in Mercer Digital. The company still had strong technology, good employees, and contracts worth saving. Grant's leadership was the problem. The chief strategy officer slid the folder toward me. Grant wants a personal meeting before we proceed. No. He says he is not asking for money. He is asking for access. He has been waiting downstairs since sunrise. I walked to the window. Far below, Grant stood near the entrance in a dark coat. He looked small against the stone plaza. He paced, checked the doors, and looked up toward the tower. My assistant entered. Should security remove him? No. Should I bring him up? I closed the blinds. No. I returned to the table, opened the acquisition agreement, and signed my name. Continue the meeting. That afternoon, Grant finally caught me in the underground garage. He stepped from behind a concrete column. Thinner than before, his face rough with sleeplessness. Security surrounded him at once. Let him speak. I said. The guards stayed close. Grant looked at me. I have lost the board. I know. The financing is frozen. I know. My mother's house is leveraged against my shares. I did not advise her to do that. Lindsay cannot pay her bills. She is an adult. He pressed both hands against his head. What do you want? I already told you. I will resign. That is now a board decision. I will sign anything. Speak to your lawyer. He dropped his hands. I am speaking to my wife. No. You are speaking to the woman who filed for divorce. His eyes filled again. Tell me what to do so you can forgive me. There is nothing. Everyone says that because you are angry. Everyone is wrong. He tried to kneel. I stepped back. Do not. I have no pride left. That is not accountability? What is? Living with the result? He stared at me. You are really going to let me lose everything. I am letting you keep whatever you built without me. His face went empty. That may be nothing. That is not my fault. He began to cry. But this time I felt no pull to comfort him. I gave you 10 years. I said, you had ordinary mornings? Sick days. Holidays. Dinners. Long drives. Quiet rooms. And thousands of chances to treat me well. You did not need to know my father. You needed to know your wife. I know that now. Now is late. Is there no way back? No. I opened the car door. He reached toward me, but stopped before touching my arm. Will you ever love someone again? I looked at him. That is no longer your concern. I got into the car. As we drove away, he stood under the garage lights with his hands at his sides. He did not chase us. He finally understood that a closed door was not an invitation to knock harder. The acquisition went through months later. Mercer Digital kept its name, its employees, and its products. Grant left with the value of his remaining shares after his debts were paid. It was less than he expected, and more than he claimed to deserve. I did not take his company to punish him. I took responsibility for the part of it that had always been mine. On the day the divorce became final, I wore a white suit and the emerald signet ring. My father waited outside the courthouse. He did not ask whether I was sad. He asked, "Lunch?" I smiled. "Only if I do not have to cook." He laughed so loudly that people turned to look. That night, I placed the old navy scarf in the same wooden box as the ring. One belonged to the family I had returned to. The other belonged to the woman I had once been. I kept both. Then I closed the box, walked into my study, and opened the plans for our next acquisition. Grant had spent years believing my silence meant I had nowhere else to go. He was wrong. I had an entire life waiting for me. I only had to stop asking permission to enter it. So tell me, was I right to leave him and take back everything I had quietly built? Or should I have given him one final chance?